Here's the funny thing. I'm kind of expecting this to not work. If I don't think it's gonna work, why would I try it? Well, sometimes I'm wrong. I have not totally thought this through, so we will just plow forward and hope for the best. Part 2 of the magnet saga. I've got to press all the magnets into the earplugs. Up to this point, I've done several hundred of these using this arbor press, and you know, it works okay. There's basically this big metal ram which you can drive either with this hand wheel or this ratcheting handle. I have this little aluminum piece with a hole drilled in it where the stem of the earplug goes, and then I just stick a magnet in the back of it, and it fits in there part of the way, and then we just run this down. Oh, this one is actually a tight magnet, so I'm not gonna get enough force with the hand wheel, so I've got to use the handle and push that home. That's about as tight as that fit gets. This thing is capable of, you know, several tons of pressure, which is way more than we need. One thing, I don't actually know if it's good or bad, now that this has a magnet, it sticks on there. The other thing that's tricky about this process is the two earplugs have to stick together. So the opposing earplug has to have the opposite polarity on the magnet. Run that down, also quite tight. Oh, if I don't drop it. Let's pretend that didn't happen. So now we have a pair of earplugs. Keep in mind, I've got to do this about 2,800 times. So I guess the question I was having is there a better way to do this? I'm an optimizer. I like to always improve things, whether it is a product or process. So this is fine and all. It may be the ultimate solution, but it takes a while. Let's go look at the other thing. So this is a little pneumatic press that I made like 8 years ago, and normally I use this for setting some pressure sensitive adhesive. I've got a foot pedal. This is an air cylinder. It's got a little 2-inch bore, and I push the pedal and this just comes up like so. So I took out the thing we use for flashlights. I just really quickly roughed in this aluminum piece, and I was like, oh, I don't know, maybe we can use this. So I started messing around with it. It does work sometimes, but what I quickly learned is I run out of force pretty fast. That one went like halfway in, so clearly not enough force. So that's a drawback. Basically, we have around 100 PSI to work with and shot pressure. So what I did is I bought one of these little guys. This thing increases our line pressure, so I can get about 100 PSI to this thing. This little gizmo here will double that. Will that be enough? I'm not feeling very confident, but I bought all the stuff, so I guess we should try it. I hope I didn't waste 350 bucks on this. Alright, so one thing you might be asking yourself, because I ask myself the same question, is why is it even worth messing around with stuff like this when I could just, you know, I know the arbor press works. Messing around with stuff like this and processes and improving them is what I like about my job. I like making stuff. I like solving problems. I don't get to do a lot of this anymore, so I've been actually trying to spend more time focusing on improving processes, and I want to be spending less time on monotonous, terrible tasks. So this is one of those things. I'm gonna try it. Again, I think this will probably work fine for the Delrin. Right now, my expectation is this is not gonna work for the titanium. I wonder if it would even be faster just to use the pneumatic press to preset the magnet in the earplug, and then you can just throw them in the arbor press and bang them out. I don't know, but that's, you know, I'm gonna try it out. The other thing I wanna say about modifying and optimizing processes is you can talk about it, like I'm doing right now, all day long. Just try it. Don't talk about it. Get real information instead of speculation that you can use for decision making. But especially when you're trying to get somewhere and it's gonna take a bunch of interrelated and complicated steps, just start trying stuff and you're gonna find out what works and what doesn't. I'm gonna go try this thing and see where it leads. All right, so we are here at the lathe. This is the little tool that goes in the pneumatic press to push the magnet in. I need to skim a little more material off of this to give me some more clearance, so let's do that now. that's all there is to it. I just skimmed a little off. One of the problems I'm working against is my magnet is a 1/4 inch long and the stroke on that cylinder is a 1/4 inch. So if I'm too far above the part, I'm not going to be able to actually press it in all the way, which will defeat the purpose of this entire thing. Next, we are going to replumb the press to use the pressure booster, and then we'll give this thing a shot. So let's do it. So let's get this guy back in here. It just threads onto this 3/8/16 cap screw. Even by doubling the pressure, I'm not sure we're gonna get enough force to push it in on the titanium. That arbor press back there generates like literally thousands of pounds of force. The most we're gonna get out of this 2-inch cylinder at 100 psi line pressure, doubled to 200 is ballpark around 700 pounds of force, which seems like a lot, but it may not be enough. All right, so I've got my booster. This is the pedal. It's foot actuated, so this has a regulator on it. Our compressed air runs between, I think, 110 and 125 psi off the compressor. I do not want the pressure going into this thing to be variable like that, so we're going to regulate this to 100 pounds. We're going to be running 200 psi. Oh, can this regulator handle that? 300 psi max. Oh good, outlet is 100 psi max. That is not good. We're going to be playing with a little bit of fire here, but we'll see. I bought this pressure cable tube. Yeah, whatever. This is rated to 300 psi. This DOT air brake cable is only rated to 150 psi. We're probably going to get above that, so the first thing I need to do is basically just replace this tubing. And I also need to make sure I do this in such a way that this is going to be easy to revert back to its intended use. All right, the hard work is done. Then I'm gonna need a separate loop for the booster. Okay. In case you haven't seen it, the Prometheus edition Giant Mouse Clyde. We basically buy these knives from Giant Mouse and custom laser engrave them. How's that for a plug? Done with you. Wow, that hit more things than I thought it was going to. Cool. Which line do I need to interrupt? And where am I going to put that? I don't really want to bother mounting it, so maybe it's going to just have to sit somewhere. It seems like that should be plenty. It's easier to make it shorter than it is to make it longer. That's going to come out of there and go into there. That's going to go into there. Wait. Oh, so maybe it can actually be really short? Why not? Why take the guesswork out of it? Hey, where are you guys? Oh, over here. I don't totally understand what's going on with this thing. I made it so long ago. This is a double acting cylinder. There is a piston inside here, and air goes in on top of the piston and underneath the piston to, in turn, move this platform up and down. Logic would tell me that the port on the bottom would push on the bottom of the piston. However, I have a speed control on this port, but I'm assuming I wanted to speed control going up and then just let it drop down freely. So maybe I will go with that assumption. If this is the speed controlled one, this should be in. So it's gonna go in there and then out here. That's all there is to it, right? And I plug this back into the air. All right, so I've got this little air manifold under the bench. It's basically like a power strip for compressed air. I'm gonna sneak this down and try to plug it in, and hopefully nothing explodes. Wish me luck. Okay, something's happening. So this is the exhaust port. It is presently exhausting. I'm not sure if that's supposed to happen or not. Our cylinder's down, so let's see what happens when I push the pedal. I'm gonna go get safety glasses, actually. Ah, proper. Because when you're dealing with pressure and something goes wrong, it usually happens very quickly and it can be very aggressive. So I set the regulator to exactly 100 psi. This is reading just under 100 psi, so I'm assuming the outlet is the pressure I'm delivering to here, which we're currently under 100 psi, so maybe I turn this thing. Okay, well, it stopped making noise. Is that bad? Oh, all right. Progress. Whoa, that was something happened there. I've got the booster set to roughly 150 PSI. And so now that needle's slowly dropping, and when I release it, oh, it didn't vent that time? I don't know, I think it's doing what, whoa, wait, why do I have no flow? So when you're doubling the pressure, you're also reducing the amount of airflow. Increase the pressure, reduce the volume. I'm not sure what the ratio is, but it looks like, I mean, oh man. So this is moving up. It is incredibly slow. I think we might be in trouble. Let's turn this back down. All right, so that's relieving. All right, now that's at 100, which is my line pressure. Okay, so if I get below the line pressure, this is relieving. So I'm gonna turn it up basically till it stops. Oh boy. All right, well, I can actually go up to 110 because I think my compressor minimum pressure is 115. I doubt that's gonna do much. If I hook this thing up correctly, my tube is too small. Input pressure 15 to 145, maximum output pressure 290, but at 0 volume, that is not the most useful thing in the world. That is barely moving. That's gonna take like a month. I think we may have just failed. Miserably. Time to take a break and think about this. I have made some progress in determining that this is not going to work. Basically, the problem I was having is once the pressure comes out of the booster and pushes that cylinder up, that line remains pressurized. So even when I use the pedal to switch the outputs, it's trying to then put pressure in both sides at the same time, which doesn't work, and that's why it was running slow. So I need basically some way to relieve the pressure while also forcing air into this side to drop the platter down. I have hooked up a whole bunch of other air fittings into something that is unusable but functional. Now I have an earplug with a magnet on it. I have to push this pedal to drop it down. When I let it go, that kicks back up, which is in itself a little bit dangerous. Now to put more pressure on it, I press this pedal, and that one actually did press all the way. I did a couple other ones that did not. The booster has now pressurized the line, so to relieve it, I push the other pedal, and that drops down and I can get it out. But again, that's a little bit of a pinch hazard. Anyway, let's try it again. So I gotta drop the platter down, put that under, let it go. Oh, and that one went pushed in. So this is basically just normal 100 PSI line pressure. So both of these worked. However, the first two I did, one magnet went like 90% of the way and the other magnet only went halfway, even with the full 200 pounds from the booster, which is 700 pounds. Again, for the Delrin, I don't even think the booster is gonna be necessary, so that was kind of a waste. As far as using this to basically preset the magnets, unfortunately, it's seeming like while that is physically easier, I tried that yesterday, it may take about the same amount of time as just manually fidgeting around with that thing and getting everyone set up. So that's a bit of a bummer, but I think that's where we're at. I'll probably try presetting some more and see if I feel like that makes sense or not. So we tried, we learned some things. Unfortunately, this time we failed, but that's the way this sort of thing goes. Apparently, I've got a bunch of work to do. So I'll see you guys later. Thanks for tuning in. All right, let's do this the old-fashioned way. It's gonna take a while. I got about 5,000 of these to do. So when I do find a magnet that's too tight, I just actually stick it up here, which is what I was saying earlier. Maybe it's actually good that this thing is magnetic, and then I can just find a hole with it. Wait, what? Whoa. This seems like a bad idea, but let's find out. So that's what I'm also saying, like when you have them preset, you can just throw them in there really fast. But you have to preset it anyway, so maybe there's no advantage of doing that offline. Let's try something crazy though. So I'm basically gonna preset these. That one's tight. Alright, so arguably the silly part is I'm gonna have to go back and deal with all of these, but one of the things we're trying to accomplish with all of this is economy of motion. So now, if I go back and deal with these, this is quite fast. Is it better? I'm not sure. What do you think? That fella was tight. Or like, should somebody else preset them? And somebody else does this part? This feels faster, even though maybe it's not. So maybe that's a good enough reason to do it. It's like when you're driving and you'll go a longer way to avoid traffic just so you don't have to be stopped. You may have noticed I put all those magnets in the same direction. However, half of them have to be opposite. Alright, so now when I throw the earplugs in this bin, they're not all paired up, so one of the cool things is you can just kind of roll them around a little bit and they find their buddies. Get the pairs out and then we'll find how many singles we have left and what polarity those are and just try to keep everything matched up. And so it looks like I've got 3 that don't want to be friends. So then I'll grab some magnets and find out which end is which, and then now I know I have to put the next 3 on this end. So it's definitely fidgety trying to get the magnet started, especially if the fit is tight. And so maybe that's one advantage to bulk loading magnets onto the arbor. And then the other problem, which you can't see, is I'm holding these magnets in my right hand, and when I pull the handle's made of steel. I try to avoid it, but I will often get the magnet stuck to the handle, and then that's just extra irritation and motion to deal with. Am I talking myself into using the pneumatic thing to preset? I might be. Alright, all matched up. Wow, that was like 12 fairs. That took a long time. I'm gonna press on. I'm gonna try some other stuff. We'll see how this plays out.